What's up, guys? I am back to bring you your recap on Married to Medicine Season 6, Episode 11, and it is titled BBQs, Biscuits, and Birth Controls. First, let's continue the discussion from last week with the whole your mama comments again from Heavenly versus Mariah. We caught the ending of it in this episode where Aiden and Mariah walked out, and Mariah and Aiden are upset that no one is calling out Heavenly for using the your mama jokes, and I agree with Dr. Simone in this situation. Everybody is dead ass wrong, and the reality of it is Heavenly only said your mama after Mariah turned up on her and even broke the flute to use as a shank, my God. So although we can say saying your mama is wrong, at the same time, that was Heavenly's clapback. So Aiden and Mariah are a tad bit annoying in this situation, my God. Next, we saw Dr. Jackie and Curtis in their hotel room or in the villa discussing the men versus the women and who started this. And I love that Dr. Jackie checked Curtis as well as called him out and saying, if Dr. G had not done what he did, none of this discussion would have ever been happening. So I do kind of agree that the men are causing this rift because of the situations that have gone down, my God. But at the same time, Curtis is also right because long before there was cheating scandals exposed, the women have been going at it. So at the same time, they're both to blame, my God. Next, we saw that Dr. Contessa is a tad bit annoyed because if Toya actually did mistakenly and unintentionally hit her chest, why did she not call and check on her? And I do agree, although it's a tad bit petty, of Dr. Contessa to be expecting and waiting for Toya to check in on her. The reality of it is Toya is actually the host of this trip. And if someone is injured on the trip that you are hosting, it is proper etiquette to check on that person, especially because you are the one, Toya, who injured her, my God. We were also informed something that we did not find out last week during the gift giving, that Dr. Eugene gave all of the men some form of honey to boost their testosterone for them to perform better sexually, my God. And Curtis and Cecil are all for it. Actually, all the men are all for it, but it was funny to hear how Cecil was making sure to make it known that it's going down tonight and he's going to use that honey on Dr. Simone, my God. Next, let's address Dr. Aiden versus Dr. Daddy because of the whole wives going at it in the your mama comments. I love that Cecil did speak up and say that he was disappointed in Dr. Daddy because initially he thought that Aiden said something that was very serious and offensive. Then when he found out all Dr. Aiden said was, let's not bring mamas into it, he felt like that it was something appropriate to say. But Dr. Daddy did also say that he was bothered already because of the fact that he was dragged into the situation from Mariah for allegations of him cheating. He said he never cheated on Heavenly, so why is he being brought into it, especially because he never did anything. But I love that Dr. Daddy did apologize and said he will try to get Heavenly to stop mentioning the your mama comments. And he also mentioned that he wants Dr. Aiden to pretty much get Mariah under control. And I personally felt like Dr. Daddy threw some shade at Dr. Aiden when he said he applauds Aiden's love for his wife, as to say, your wife is crazy as hell, my God. So I applaud that you are loving her in spite of her crazy. Because the reality of it is, I think you're supposed to love your wife anyway, my God. But at the same time, Dr. Daddy's wife is just as crazy, so they both need to be applauded for loving their wives. Next, let's address the ladies at the pool. First and foremost, it was great to see, although Dr. Contessa felt like Toya hit her intentionally, she still chose to speak to her at the pool, and Toya's immature ass ignored her. But I was a tad bit bothered that Dr. Simone felt like Dr. Contessa questioning and wondering if Toya hit her intentionally was character assassination. My thing is, if someone is being shady towards me or doesn't like me or I've been having issues with, I have the right, Dr. Contessa has the right to wonder and question and assume if Toya did it intentionally or not. So I'm a little bit confused as to why Dr. Simone is always all over the place during this season. Sometimes she's right, sometimes she's wrong, other times she makes no damn sense. And I don't see it as character assassination for wondering and questioning someone's intentions behind what they did to you. Also, we saw that Toya stated that she feels like Contessa requires a lot of attention because she had expected her to reach out to her and check on her. My thing is, Toya is the last person almost on earth, my God, to say that someone requires a lot of attention, because it has been exposed that Toya wants everyone to contact her and update them on every single thing, even when it's time to take a shit, my God. So, Toya, you are the last person to call somebody out for needing a lot of attention because you require much attention, my God. Next, we saw Dr. Heavenly's anger management at work. She apologized. Well, I don't think she actually apologized. She did say she could have acted better last night at the dinner, especially with bringing up your mama comments and so on and so forth. Mariah actually apologized to Quad and said it's a tad bit her fault because she had no right to comment on Quad's marriage. And then what threw me off though was, while it was a very positive moment, Mariah snuck in and said she accidentally broke the wine glass. And we all saw that she intentionally broke it and was planning to use it against Heavenly. Now, I don't like the fact that it was a moment to make up and own their wrongs, but then Mariah tried to compare her breaking the glass to Dr. Daddy breaking the glass last season, when we know he broke the glass because he does not feel comfortable in conversations about sex. So I do respect and see why Heavenly got up and left, because this was a moment again to where Mariah is bothered by bringing up your mamas, but here once again she is bringing up other family, which is Heavenly's husband, who is probably one of the most important things to her, along with her children. So Mariah does not get a pass when it comes to bringing up the husband, especially when she's crying about her mama being brought up, my God. I do love the fact in that moment though, Dr. Simone, I said sometimes she's right, sometimes she's wrong. She was right with calling Toya out for saying that it's her responsibility as the leader of this trip to take hold of the trip and accountability and make it right so everyone can have a great trip. So at that moment, there was some light reconciliation between Toya and Contessa, with them both agreeing to be cordial and not have any issues moving forward. But it was a light. I think it made for future serious and genuine reconciliation, which happened later on in this episode, my God. Next, we have to address the sex and intimacy dinner. I know that Toya and Eugene have themes for each night, and this night was about sex and intimacy. It was so funny that Dr. Heavenly put Dr. Daddy on the spot. We all know he is uncomfortable in conversations about sex, and she said that Dr. Daddy loves it when she puts it in her mouth, my God. But from a more significant standpoint, I loved that Cecil said we all claim to put in the work, and we all talk about how important putting in the work actually is, my God. But putting in the work is null and void if it is not the work that you're putting in for the right person. It has to be the right individual, my God, for you, because you can be working your ass off all day long. But if it is not the person who is meant for you, all of that work is null and void, and your work will be in vain. Next, Dr. Simone was up and she said that her sex is basic. I would never call my own sex basic, but it did throw me off that Toya chose to interrupt to try to correct Dr. Simone's word usage. Now, I love the fact that Dr. Eugene spoke up and said that Dr. Simone is allowed to use whatever word she wants to use, my God. And Dr. Simone shut Toya all the way down because she said, we have been together for 20 years and my basic sex must be doing something, because all the tricks you have, my God, still caused your own husband to masturbate in the basement, which we all knew about. And Eugene could not say shit, my God. So I love that moment because Dr. Simone was spot on with the clapback because of Toya being so concerned about the word basic being used, my God. Now, it did disturb me that Toya threw a biscuit at Dr. Eugene, as well as went full off crazy on him for him defending Dr. Simone and allowing her to use whatever word she wants to use. Now, this is a moment where I love it. As disturbing as it was to see Toya act a fool and go off, it was a pivotal moment in Married to Medicine history for me, because I think we all felt that Toya runs over and controls Dr. Eugene. But in this moment, my God, he stood up as a man and took no shit from Toya. He said what he said, my God, and meant it and did not budge and checked his wife. So this is where I feel like I've always said people use the word emasculate too loosely, because in this moment, Toya could have come across like she was emasculating Dr. Eugene. But I always say that you cannot be emasculated unless you give your own power away to be emasculated, because in that moment, we saw Dr. Eugene own it. And I can't say that he was emasculated because he never allowed himself to be emasculated, my God. He owned that moment as a man. And regardless of how childish, how aggressive, how catty, how messy his wife was being towards the people that were there to be their guest along with him, he still kept her ass in check. And for him to be a very chill, dainty, low-key man, he checked Toya's ass. So I was so proud of him, because it was a moment to be celebrated, because he changed our opinions, in my opinion, based on how we viewed their marriage, because clearly Toya is not always getting over on him, because he will speak up and say his piece. I also loved Quad's perspective, because Dr. Simone tried to push Quad to go over and check Toya, and Quad said, no, baby, that is their marriage, their issues, their concerns. It is not my place to interject in a relationship. So kudos to Quad. And it threw me off because Dr. Simone has been married for 20 years, and for her to suggest that someone should enter into a discussion or argument between a couple was dead ass wrong, my God. But I love that Mariah said that she knew this was going to happen because Dr. Eugene gave Toya a cubic zirconia the night before. And that was hilarious, because this did seem like a temper tantrum from a woman who did not and was not getting her way. Then after all the craziness, Toya's ass blamed it on the birth control. Now, I've heard of blaming it on the alcohol, but not the damn birth control. And it was so funny to see all the doctors and the spouses in their confessionals making jokes about the birth control. Even Mariah saying, if I knock Heavenly upside the head, we can blame it on the birth control. And Dr. Aiden said, yes, that will get you all the way off in court. But it was so funny because I was confused, because I didn't know that birth control had side effects of psychotic and mental breakdowns, my God. But Toya was definitely in an emotional state, because she was crying and then wondering and questioning why she went off on her own husband, my God. But I was side-eyeing Dr. Eugene because he was acting as if it was a surprise to see Toya behave that way, when we all know that this is nothing new, my God. He is used to this. And now all of this makes sense as to why Toya and Dr. Eugene were offended last season when Dr. Heavenly mentioned or asked him the question, why does Toya disrespect her husband in public? I think that Dr. Eugene doesn't feel disrespected because he will check Toya's ass as calmly and respectfully as he can, my God. Then we saw a great moment where Dr. Contessa and Toya apologized to each other. Actually, Toya apologized to Dr. Contessa and said that she does not want to have any issues with her. They both wanted to come to the middle and make it right and get back to a positive space. I feel like that was the most genuine that both of them have been this season, especially with them being at odds. It was a great, positive, successful, and sweet moment. Then I was thrown off because for some reason Mariah does not always process what's going on accurately, because when Toya said that the beef between Heavenly and Mariah is so immature, it's BS, and they're causing their husbands to now be at odds, I was confused as to why Mariah and Dr. Aiden spoke up and didn't catch what Toya was saying. Meanwhile, Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Daddy were chill and understood what she was saying. They were not offended. But for some reason, Mariah and Dr. Aiden were offended because Mariah does not want her husband to be at fault for what happened. The reality of it is he still spoke up and put himself in women's business, my God, even if it was to defend his wife. And them getting up from the table and leaving and feeling like they were not a part of the crew anymore or didn't belong was just so reminiscent of the past, my God. Just because you don't get along with others and they don't do what you want them to do, my God, does not mean you don't belong. And I loved, once again, Dr. Eugene's ass called Aiden and Mariah out. This is the backbone season, my God, for Dr. Eugene. He said, you gonna whisper and I can hear you whispering, please either say it out loud or go somewhere else, because they were trying to force people to call Heavenly out for the your mama jokes. But just as Quad said, your mama jokes and you talking about someone's husband is just as significant and important. If you go and do it, she can do it. So you can't choose what relative we can talk about, my God, because Heavenly's husband is important to her, just like your mom is important to you, my God. So Quad was on point with that comment. And she was also spot on with saying that Mariah can dish it, but she cannot take it. Last but not least, the Love Boat segment. Dr. Aiden and Mariah came back to the group and rented a boat to bring everyone together. They wanted to give it another try and to just have peace and love and happiness, my God. I do think that at this point, Dr. Simone is now vindicated for having that raggedy ass boat last season or on her trip, because Mariah wanted a yacht and her own husband still prepared a cheap boat for them, balling on a budget, I guess, my God. So that was funny because Mariah was expecting a yacht and Dr. Aiden dropped the ball just like Dr. Simone did in the past. Also, that conversation on the boat about the honey and the women wanting to try it and wondering why it was not for them as well. Dr. Contessa volunteered, but Dr. Jackie warned them to be careful about too much testosterone because it will cause the clitoris to turn into a penis, my God. Last but not least, the closing of this episode. I mean, is Dr. Simone on birth control too? And that's why she's having these crazy situations and going off and just turning things into other things and it not making sense, because she welcomed Dr. Contessa back into the group, my God. But then all she said was, you know, I was only gone because of my surgery. And Dr. Simone went off. You're shoving it in our face. Why do you keep bringing it back up? You're a victim. It has not been that long, my God, that she had this surgery, and why can she not bring it up? You guys are addressing her being gone as if she just left for no valid excuse. So it makes sense that Dr. Contessa would mention that she was gone, my God, for a valid reason, and it was her surgery. So Dr. Simone was dead ass wrong for cursing at Dr. Contessa and then walking off and just saying F you and all of that, because reality of it is, if you're welcoming her back, why can she not mention her surgery, my God? Like, this was just the stupidest conversation and argument ever. There are repeated arguments that are based on such trivial things, my God. So that's about it, guys. This is your recap on Married to Medicine. I am knocking these recaps out for you as I promised. Please follow me on all social media outlets. Comment down below in the comment section. Thumbs up this video. Subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notifications. Become a part of the notification ministry, my God. And share this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Bye, guys.